Hey guys, welcome back to my OOTP series with the Seattle Mariners. You can see we finished the year at 71-91. If we take a look at our Pythagorean win-loss, we should have won about 75 games, so we were a little bit unlucky, but still the frustration's definitely setting in. You can see we haven't made the playoffs since our miraculous 2001 season, where we won 116 games. Obviously some good seasons aside from that, but just have never been able to make the postseason. A lot of major injuries this year. You can see Felix Hernandez, Manny Banuelos, and even John Harris. He's that three-star potential pitcher that we got in the Toronto Blue Jays trade for Carl Seager. You know, he's 25 years old. He's going to miss all of next year. Certainly not giving up on him, but it is not a good sign. Otherwise, Carl Edwards Jr. and Felix Hernandez are expected to come back sometime in April. In terms of our rotation, you can see Yu Darvish led the way. He had a 3.5 ERA. Otherwise, it was just one big mess. James Paxton, in half a season, he was out 3 months with some injury. He had an ERA over 5. Montgomery pitched a full season. He had an ERA over 5. And De Leon pitched most of a full season. He had an ERA near 6. And then this guy, Shane Green, we picked up on waivers in July. You can see he had an ERA of 4.8. I don't really know that we expected anything else from him. In terms of our bullpen, Cho Young-sung had a good season, but everyone else sort of took a step back. You know, people like Nick Vincent, that was an all-star last year, had a 5.17 ERA this year, and even Evan Scribner, he had a 3.6 ERA last year. This year, an ERA near 6. Offensively, the main storyline was Richard Urena. He was a Rule 5 draft pick, and he hit 16 home runs, hit 293, and his defense made him nearly a 5-win player. Ben Gamble also had a really good season, a 4.5-win player, an on-base percentage of .370. People like Zunino and Vogelbach definitely took a step back in the second half of the season. Zunino hit .213 overall, definitely some power and good defense, so he is an above-average player. And Vogelbach definitely still a step up from last season, where he hit something like .215. Otherwise, Devers in 100 games hit about .270 with 11 home runs. So, hopefully he makes strides next year, but certainly not too bad of a rookie season considering he's 22 years old. Kyle Waldrop, not too bad of a season. He had a .350 on base percentage. Wilmer Flores in about half a season did all right. Tyler O'Neill and Nelson Cruz, sort of big power guys, not a lot of average there. And then Carlos Gomez did okay. We're not going to take him back next year, but, he was serviceable while he was here. I also thought it would be important to take a look at our prospects. I think the main thing to take away is that all these guys are maybe 2 or 3 years away from reaching the majors. They're 18, 17, 20 years old. Now, one of the things that means is that in the future, we're going to have very cheap talent. So that's an important consideration moving forward. And then the other thing to keep in mind is that our owner, he's fiscally very generous. We have just a ridiculous amount of money sitting around. And in terms of how happy our owner is with us, the answer is not very. In fact, he says he is upset with us. So I think we're going to have to make some big moves this offseason to really jumpstart our team. Nothing that's going to, financially handcuff us, but there's a difference between being fiscally responsible and just being too cautious. And I think right now we're being a little bit too cautious. With that in mind, we did pick up Yu Darvish's option. It's for $21 million next year. And then we also picked up Manny Banuelos' option. It's only $2 million, and frankly, we need the pitching depth. You can see this year we were tied for 9th in runs scored and 11th in runs against. And I think what that means is that it's time to switch things up in terms of our personnel. A lot of the people that we gave a shot to, like Edgar Martinez, it's time to move on, I think. So with that in mind, we're going to be making a number of offers to some different coaches here, including Hisashi Iwata, who is a Japan manager with a good reputation and a sabermetric approach. Hopefully there's no language barrier, but I think these are going to be some good moves. So when we take a look at arbitration, a lot of our players are not in the mood to discuss a contract, which is not a good sign for our team chemistry. They're going to be coming back whether they like it or not. Otherwise, we are going to be offering contracts to all arbitration-eligible players. We're going to let Richemsky and Gomez go, and we're going to submit a qualifying offer to Cruz because I assume that he will decline a 1-year, $15 million deal. So he does decline that offer, and we're just going to have to keep an eye on it and make sure that he will not accept this qualifying offer. If we take a look back at this season, 71 wins was a little bit lucky in the sense that it gives us the 6th overall draft pick next year. So that's another thing to keep in mind for free agency. Because we're in the top third of all draft picks, we will not lose our first round pick if we sign a big free agent. Instead, we'll lose a second round and third round pick and so on like that. In terms of the postseason, the New York Mets pulled it off. They won the World Series over the Cleveland Indians. Nolan Arenado won the MVP in the National League. Francisco Lindor won it in the American League, with Manny Machado coming in at a close second. And Miguel Cabrera comes in third place. He had 48 home runs and hit .330 last year. For the National League, Clayton Kershaw won the Cy Young, no surprise there. And Dylan Bundy won the American League Cy Young. He had an ERA under 3 this year. And in typical Mariners fashion, the only award we win is a Gold Glove in the outfield. This time, it's from Ben Gamel. So as we take a look back at arbitration, these guys are still not in the mood to negotiate, so we're going to have to go through the arbitration process for them. And then for Nelson Cruz, I assume he is still going to decline this 1-year, $15 million offer. Let's take a look. He does decline it, so I don't think that we're at any risk here. Taking a look at some of these free agents, we can see Nelson Cruz is a compensation pick, so if anyone does sign him, we'll get an extra draft pick. I think one position we'll definitely be looking at after we lost Carlos Gomez is center field. I think the big name here is AJ Pollock. His ratings have fallen a little bit. He's at 3 stars, had a really bad season last year, but you can see 2 seasons ago had a WAR of 6.5, so that's definitely someone that we might be able to buy low on. But the big name, of course, is Clayton Kershaw. His demand right now is $37 million, so we're not going to pay him that. But if you're looking for the front of the rotation guy, this is really the guy. I mean, he's led the league in ERA 2 years in a row. He's just been dominant. So we will definitely keep an eye on him and see where things go. There's also some international free agents, so if we take a quick look here, no one really jumping out at me so far, although there is this closer and no one really else. So now that Kershaw's demand has come down a little bit, you can see it's $27 million. I think that this might be something we're willing to do, because if you take a look at our finances, we have $51 million for free agents, so we'd still have a lot of money for this next year. And then after that, we've got a number of contracts that are sort of ending. You can see Hernandez and Darvish will both be gone after next year, so that frees up even more money. So I think this is the offer we're going to give to Kershaw. It's a 7-year contract, but there's a team option at the end of it. So it's really 6 guaranteed years, $27.6 million per year. It's a lot of money, but it's also probably the best pitcher in baseball. All right, so clearly Chicago has made a deep ball offer. We're not going to include a player opt-out. I just don't really like that. $33 million. That is a lot of money. Let me think about this. All right, so this is the offer we're going to submit. Is it overpaying for him? Maybe, but the thing I do like is that it's not a 10-year contract. It's a 7-year contract. I think with someone like Kershaw, you can be pretty sure that they're going to be solid into their mid-30s. So that's a lot of money, but I think it might be worth it. Meanwhile, when we're taking a look at AJ Pollock, his demands really aren't going down. So, I mean, we're not going to sign him to any sort of contract like that. So we are at the Rule 5 draft. You can see we do have the 6th pick. We got to add some people to the 40-man roster, however. Looking at these guys, again, you can see a lot of left fielders and second basemen. I do see this starter, but it looks like the OSA doesn't think anything of him. We've definitely got some room in our 40-man roster, though, so I do think that I'll pick him up and just see what happens. I think we'll also grab this Brad Dobransky. Again, OSA doesn't like him, but our head scout sees something. And that's going to do it for the Rule 5 draft. So I skipped ahead a little bit. The big news is we did land Clayton Kershaw. So that is huge news. I mean, you can see the statistics. He is just unbelievable. And that's why I thought he was worth this contract. Again, that's why we unloaded people like Cano and Seager, is so that we could make room for a contract like this. It's 7 years. It's a heck of a lot of money. I mean, it's a ridiculous amount of money. And I wouldn't give it to anyone else except Clayton Kershaw. We've also extended an offer for center fielder AJ Pollock. It'd just be 1 year and $2.6 million, so hopefully he accepts that. In other news, the preseason predictions are out. We are predicted to be 84 and 78. Hopefully we do a little bit better than that. Kyle Waldrop is apparently supposed to be a top 10 hitter, and so is Taylor Motter. I don't know about that. And then Kershaw is supposed to be the number 1 pitcher in the American League. And Darvish is also on that list, and so is Sung. And just a day after I talked about this, we do sign AJ Pollock, so that's very exciting. All right, so we are at opening day here in 2019. We had a relatively injury-free spring training aside from AJ Pollock, who has an oblique strain. He'll be back in a couple of weeks. Otherwise, we've got Felix Hernandez still on the DL. He'll be out the first couple of weeks recovering from last year's injury, and John Harris will miss the whole season. In terms of our batting order, remember this is the manager's decisions, not mine. We've got Ben Gamel leading it off. He's playing right field. Rafael Devers is batting second, playing third base. Tyler O'Neill is in left field. Dan Vogelbach is the first baseman. Richard Arena is over at short. Kyle Waldrop is in left field. Mike Zunino is behind the plate. Guillermo Heredia is the center fielder, and he's taking over for AJ Pollock at the beginning. He actually doesn't have terrible ratings. And then Taylor Motter is batting ninth and playing second base. In terms of rotation, the top of the rotation is definitely a strength. We've got Clayton Kershaw, and then Yu Darvish is our second pitcher. James Paxton is number 3. Shane Green is number 4. And Manny Banuelos is currently number 5. Bullpen this year, we've got Carl Edwards Jr. closing, and Cho Young-sung is a setup man. Otherwise, it should be pretty obvious who is in there. One thing to note is we've got Jose De Leon in AAA. Obviously, he's one step away from the majors. Good thing is his ratings do seem to have improved, so that is a plus. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is also improving. You can see his overall and potential ratings are pretty darn high. He is going to start the year in AA, but I would not be shocked if he makes an appearance by the end of the year. All right, so that's going to do it for this episode. I think I am cautiously optimistic about this season. I think we've definitely improved, maybe not offensively, but certainly pitching-wise. This year should be a lot better, assuming that we don't get a whole line of injuries like we did last year. But we will certainly have our work cut out for us in the AL West because the Houston Astros are there, so that's always going to be difficult.